just like a really open conversation. It's a safe space. You can express yourselves however you want. If you want to sing a song, you can do. So yeah, we just want to start off. What do you think is important about the visibility of LGBTQ in netball as a sport?
I think it's really important, you know, the more visibility we have, the more people can see what our sport is about, and kind of that celebration, how diverse it is, I think is massively important. I think it's one of the best sports out there for it. You know, we want people to be able to access sport regardless of sexuality, of gender, to feel like they're comfortable within sport and on a netball court. And I think for the majority, netball definitely does that. There's always room for improvement, and there should always be. But it's definitely always felt like a safe space for me. And I think the more we can obviously access people and show people what the sport is about, we can hopefully get more communities coming to the sport. But I think for me, I've always felt like I've been celebrated for who I am, my teammates, my coaches, the fans. I've always felt very kind of open to everyone. And I know people will have different experiences than that, but I can only kind of take mine of how great it has been. But obviously there's still things that we can keep doing in our sport to keep pushing it to get even better.
Netball as a community has always been quite welcoming when it comes to my experiences as well. And I think it's super important to keep celebrating that. And I think it's not the case for some other sports, and that we're really lucky that we're a part of a sport that celebrates pride and is really inclusive. So I think it's pretty cool.
And I think just kind of growing up through kind of playing netball, and there being the visibility of players who have always been kind of open and honest about their sexuality and identity through that, it made it, I think, much easier for me, definitely, to kind of be open and honest myself about all that.
Have you guys got any individual stories or experiences of feeling accepted or not feeling accepted? I mean, you can share positive and negative. I think that's really important in this environment.
I think I can only have positive things of how many people kind of have messaged just saying, seeing kind of you being so open online has kind of maybe helped them. And that to me is crazy, because obviously I would never think of myself in that way of any sort of role model. Just me, I'm just doing what I want to do and love, and kind of showing my family and things online. But if it can help one person just to kind of feel more comfortable, or make them feel like they can kind of be their true authentic self, to me that's mind-blowing, and I want to keep doing it.
When we came out and told our teammates, we were definitely kind of a bit nervous about it, and kind of the reaction, but for absolutely no reason whatsoever, because everyone was so kind of happy for us, if nothing else, and just like really supportive and everything. So I think that's all we've ever really experienced.
Do you feel that you have a responsibility to be that role model and be the face of that community for younger netballers and, you know, youngsters growing up? It's
important for us to just be ourselves. I don't think I feel any necessary pressure to like be a role model, because we get people saying that what we do now is helping them, and they feel more comfortable to be themselves. So I think it's not necessarily a pressure. It's like a positive benefit and like side bit that people are seeing us be ourselves and using us as a role model. Like, it's just really nice that we can do that by just showing off how happy we are and how included we feel in our sport.
And what do you think the sport does to kind of capture that inclusivity? So obviously things like this Pride round that NSL are hosting, what other things do you think as a sport that we do to help promote the inclusivity in netball?
This season's felt really good. The fact we've had the international round as well, that we've had different things going within our league. I think the more kind of games like that kind of really highlight different things, and people's just having more conversations in the league is better. You know, we want to keep promoting our sport and the netball, but we can also jump on that to help other communities. So I thought it was amazing to have the international round. We have lots of players from different places all over and hearing about people's heritage. I thought that was incredible this season, so more things like that. I think for me as a sport, I think it'd be really good to have maybe something about kind of disabilities and people that have that, how they access our sport. Like, is there more for people out there that they can get to, like wheelchair friendly netball, things like that? That's something for me I think I want to kind of start pushing as well, and making sure we're accessing lots of different people. And the Pride round for me is incredible. You know, last season I was just so thankful with Lightning that they had a Pride game, and the Pride round was something that would hopefully happen, and hopefully the Super League and England Netball would kind of do and lead on. So it's amazing to kind of see that development, that we're still doing that and we're still pushing the boundaries and having lots of things like that related to our netball games.
I think just having conversations like this, and it's not necessarily like a Pride round is great, and like it's really important for people to celebrate that, and it's great that we've been able to have it across the Super League, but not just celebrating it in Pride Month, or not just celebrating it and having these conversations in on a particular day where like the country is celebrating Pride or something like that. I think just talking about different topics and talking about things that may potentially be uncomfortable for people to talk about, but it might help someone, and people being open and just celebrating who they are. Just not just once a round or once a month.
Also for like me as well, like I still need to keep learning. Like within the community, I'm literally like the L part of the community. There's so much for me still to know and find out about. I think that's the whole point of this weekend. And just like Imo said, but that should carry on. It shouldn't just be this weekend only. Like, how do we keep pushing that? And I think as well for me with the clubs, it is incredible, but it's making sure it doesn't feel like a token gesture as well. It needs to be something like, what are we doing behind the scenes? What is each club doing to make sure it's supportive and inclusive? Like, what is happening? Is there other schemes that are going on that we don't know about that we can keep promoting? How are we accessing kind of minority groups and accessing communities more? So I'm hoping this is obviously just the forefront, and it's massive, and it's going to be positive and celebrating lots of colours, but at the same time, what are we also doing within the clubs as well?
Hopefully it'll really get that kind of chat up around it. We'll see hopefully lots about it on social media, on televised games and stuff, and I think it's just going to really help with that visibility piece and get many more people talking about it, hopefully.
Do either of you think that there is a stereotype around the LGBTQ community? If so, do you think that's in our sport or not in our sport?
You don't want it to feel like a stereotype. You know, we've had that for years, haven't we? Females that play sport that are part of the community. There's that stereotype of what we look like, and it isn't. But that's the whole point of us being more visible. We all look different. We all have, to me, different education backgrounds. We all come from different places, and I think that's what we're trying to promote in netball. And I think that netball does a good job with that, and kind of breaking down that barrier of the stereotype of maybe kind of a queer community in netball. I don't feel like that exists for me personally.
With the history of netball, like it's definitely come from private school kind of backgrounds, and we've taken a huge shift into helping those who potentially struggle a little bit more to get involved in netball and really provide, like, make it more inclusive for everyone, for a number of reasons. And I think it's great that has happened through the history of netball, and like it just shows that we can make change and we can talk about all sorts of different things and get with a big community. You can get change and you make change, and it's just important that we do that.
Do you think that the international athletes coming from countries where it's maybe not as widely accepted or promoted, do you think they feel welcomed into Super League, into an environment where it is hugely celebrated and promoted?
I would hope people do feel comfortable and confident, and that each club is offering that safe space, like we've said. But like I said, I don't physically know from my experiences with the international athletes that have been over. I would say yes to that within kind of Loughborough Lightning. But you also don't know, do people come from different backgrounds? And everyone is entitled to that. And obviously with the religious bases, like people have their own beliefs and opinions. And that's the whole point, isn't it? That people are allowed to have that. But it's also about about celebrating people as well in this round. And I think for us at Lightning, we do that, but we can't physically speak for everyone within the league.
I think it can be quite a kind of big cultural shift, I guess, for some of the overseas players that come over. And I like to think kind of within our team, we're quite open and honest about the conversations that we have among players at least. So I'd like to think from that basis, at least, that they'd feel like they could kind of chip into those conversations, feel part of any sort of community that they wanted to when they came over.
And just to finish off, what would be a piece of advice that you would give to a young athlete, part of the LGBTQ community, wanting to, break into netball and maybe feeling a bit scared to do that?
If anyone was scared to be involved in sport in general, like that is something that we want to start. We want all young girls or all young males to feel comfortable within it, and that's the whole point of this, isn't it? I would hope that they can access different clubs, speak to people, use communities, use lots of different places to get educated, and hopefully people, if they stepped into netball, would feel that, and they kind of feel the love that you feel on the court. I think it's a supportive sport. I think supportive clubs. I think people really do care for you and want you to do the best that you can, regardless of maybe your sexuality or gender. But it's for people to learn that and find out themselves, isn't it? Take that risk. Take the risk. Go to a kind of netball club. Go to back to netball. But it's making sure we can also access these people as well. Currently financially it is difficult, isn't it? We're in a crisis at the minute, and obviously netball also, you've got to pay equipment fees and things like that. So I think for clubs as well, can we maybe have beginner friendly programs that we access through schools, and how can we target people to show what our sport's about through the franchises, and to show that it is a safe space, but they have to learn that if they get access to it.
I think it's just really important to be kind of open and honest with yourself and with those around you as well. And I think it's just really important to surround yourself with people who are happy to have those conversations kind of with you and who make you feel comfortable. So even if that means you have to kind of try a few different communities, a few different netball teams before you find the right kind of place for you, I think don't be afraid to kind of do that and make sure you are surrounded by the right people that make you feel happy, that make you feel confident, and that make you enjoy it at the end of the day, because that's why we kind of all started playing it in the first place.